Good evening and namaskar, I'm Shubham and you're watching the News Point. Tonight the H-1B visa is back in the spotlight and President Trump's proposal of a 100,000 fee per visa has sent shockwaves through the tech and immigration circles alike. For decades, this visa has brought some of the brightest minds from around the world to the United States. Engineers, scientists, medical researchers, architects, even fashion models. But tonight, the program is at the center of the heated political debate, with industry leaders warning of higher labor costs, fewer skilled workers, and ripple effects that could reshape the US economy. And the reaction on the ground is already visible. Outside Google's office in Lower Manhattan on Monday, a small crowd of employees and union members gathered to voice their concerns over the new $100,000 H-1B visa fee. The Alphabet Workers Union criticized the company for remaining silent, saying that public support from such a powerful employer is crucial for employees navigating this sudden change. Google is one of the most powerful companies in the world, and they have yet to say anything about what's happening and really take a stand, said Parul Kaul, president of the union. Google, like many big tech firms, has issued internal guidance but has not made a public statement. The White House clarified that the fee only applies to new applicants, but for current H-1B workers, uncertainty still looms. Employees emphasized that the company must choose whether to stand with immigrant workers who helped build the firm. One software engineer said the issue lurks under the surface in offices, even if people don't talk about it publicly. This protest highlights the human and corporate tensions surrounding the new fee and the growing pressure on big tech to respond publicly. Now, what is H-1B visa? It's a US non-immigrant visa that allows American companies to hire foreign workers in specialized fields like engineering, medicine, and technology. To qualify, workers must have at least a bachelor's degree or equivalent. And here's the key point. The visa is tied to the employer. You can't just switch jobs freely. The employer has to sponsor you. In short, the H-1B visa is America's way of bringing in top global talent to fill roles that need specialized skills, roles that are vital for innovation and growth across industries. But where did the H-1B visa program come from, and why was it created in the first place? So the H-1B program is not new. It's been around for more than 3 decades. The H-1B visa was created as part of the Immigration Act of 1990. Signed into law by President George Bush, it was intended to help American companies fill gaps in the labor market, particularly in technology and science, where demand for skills outpaced supply. Over the years, it became a cornerstone of Silicon Valley's growth. From dot-com startups to today's AI boom, companies like Google, Amazon, Microsoft, and Meta have all relied heavily on H-1B workers. Between 1991 and 2022, the number of H-1B visas issued quadrupled. By 2019, there were nearly 600,000 foreign nationals in the United States on H-1B status. In 2022 alone, 265,777 H-1B visas were approved. So, how the visa works? Now here's how the program works in practice. The H-1B visa is capped annually. Each fiscal year, 65,000 new H-1B visas are made available. Another 20,000 are set aside for workers with a US master's degree or higher. That makes for a total of 85,000 new visas each year. Employees file petitions on behalf of workers, and demand consistently outstrips supply. So the government runs a lottery. If your name is drawn, you move forward. If not, you wait another year. Once approved, the initial visa is valid for 3 years, with a maximum stay of 6 years. In some cases, if the worker is applying for a green card or working on Department of Defense projects, it can be extended beyond that. But here's the catch. If you lose your job, you lose your status. Visa holders have just 60 days to find new employment or leave the country. Just how large is the H-1B program and who are the workers driving its impact? The scope of the program is massive. In recent years, more than 70% of H-1B visas have gone to Indian nationals. Many of them are software developers, engineers, IT consultants working for both US and Indian outsourcing firms. Top corporate sponsors including Amazon, Google, Meta, Microsoft, JP Morgan, Intel, and Cognizant. Just last year, Amazon alone sponsored over 10,000 H-1B visas. These workers are not just filling seats, they are fueling entire industries, from cloud computing to artificial intelligence to biotech. What are the controversies and concerns we should know about H-1B visa program? So it has not all been praised. Critics argue the program can be abused, with some companies using it to suppress wages or replace American workers. Others say it creates a modern form of indentured servitude, where foreign workers feel trapped by their sponsorship. Economists remain divided. Some say the program drives innovation and growth, while others warn it depresses wages and disadvantages older US workers. Experts say the H-1B program is vital for innovation, but without guardrails, it can create perverse incentives that hurt the very workforce it was meant to complement. On Monday, President Trump said the measure would be rolled out immediately, calling it a way to ensure only the most valuable workers come to the United States. Donald Trump said, and I quote, "We are going to make sure American jobs go to American workers first. If companies want to bring in foreign labor, they are going to have to pay for it. Big league, $100,000 for every H-1B. That's the deal." It was a headline-grabbing figure and one that stunned immigration experts, corporate leaders, and economists alike. So how are America's tech giants reacting to this $100,000 H-1B visa fee? For America's tech giant, the reaction was swift. Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Meta, Intel, and JP Morgan, some of the top sponsors of H-1B workers, now face the prospect of paying six figures for each new visa petition. These companies rely heavily on foreign engineers and developers to fuel their growth, particularly in cloud computing, artificial intelligence, and cybersecurity. The tech policy analyst said, and I quote, "This is not a marginal cost increase. $100,000 per visa could mean tens or even hundreds of millions of dollars for the biggest firm. It will absolutely reshape hiring decisions." So how did market react? Investors took notice. US tech share were little changed on Monday, but analysts warned that the calm may not last. Indian IT stocks meanwhile fell sharply. The tech sub-index in Mumbai dropped nearly 3% as firms like Infosys and Wipro braced for higher costs and slower revenue growth. Now, what are the economic stakes? The stakes here are enormous. Let's put this in perspective. At $100,000 per visa, companies like Amazon could face $1 billion bill just to secure their annual talent pipeline. Analysts at Jefferies estimate that IT firms may see profit shrinks by 4 to 13%, squeezed by higher labor costs and wage inflation. So why do US companies rely so heavily on H-1B workers? And what's really at stake if access is limited? So this is not just about headcount, it's about innovation. American tech firms argue that the H-1B program fills gap in highly specialized areas where the US workforce is limited. Cloud infrastructure, AI development, semiconductor design, all are industries where skilled immigrants play a key role. Big tech executive on the condition of anonymity said, and I quote, "We hire globally because talent is global. If we cut ourselves off from the pool, we are not just losing workers, we are losing competitiveness." More than 70% of H-1B visas last year went to Indian nationals, many educated in the US and trained at top universities. Now let's talk about the political divide on the H-1B controversy. For Trump and his supporters, this is about more than economics. It's about political and symbolism. They argue the H-1B program has been abused by outsourcing firms, undercutting American workers and depressing wages. For years, union and worker advocacy groups have complained that the system benefits corporations at the expense of US citizens. A Trump supporter said, and I quote, Why should these billion-dollar companies get cheap foreign labor while Americans can't find jobs? Trump is finally putting American first. Democrats, meanwhile, warn the policy could backfire, stifling innovation, driving up consumer cost, and discouraging global talent from even considering the US. The Democratic lawmaker said, quote unquote, "This is the reckless tax on innovation. It doesn't protect workers, it weakens our economy." Industry groups are gathering up for a fight. The US Chamber of Commerce and India's powerful IT lobby NASSCOM are expected to challenge the measure in court. Their argument, the fee is punitive, arbitrary, and harmful to both countries. An industry lobbyist in his statement said, quote unquote, "If implemented, this fee will shut out all but the wealthiest companies. It's essentially a ban on new H-1B visas." So coming up, the human side of this policy. What does $100,000 visa mean for the foreign workers who dream of coming to America and for the families already here? The majority of H-1B visa holders in United States are young professionals from India. In FY 2024, over 70% of H-1B visa went to Indian nationals. Many of these workers are in their 20s and 30s, highly educated, and often bringing advanced degrees from US universities. Yet, despite their qualifications, their salaries are often below the threshold of the new $100,000 visa fee. An immigration policy expert said, the new fee disproportionately affects younger, less experienced workers, especially women, who already earn less on average than their male counterparts. There is another angle too, gender and age disparities. The impact is not evenly spread. Women, particularly younger Indian women, are at the greatest risk. Among new H-1B approvals in FY 2024, 37% were women. And 75% of these women were under the age of 35. By contrast, only 65% of men were under 35. The median salary for female H-1B beneficiaries starting new employment was around $91,000, while men started from $99,000. For the bottom quartile, women earned just $71,000, far below the new $100,000 fee. Here I quote a labor economist, quote unquote, "This creates an economic barrier that may prevent highly skilled women from even entering the US workforce." Why are H-1B visa holders facing year-long waits for their green cards? And what does this backlog mean for their future in the US? Many H-1B visa holders are also in line for green cards, but the process is notoriously slow. Backlogs, particularly for Indian nationals, can last years or even decades. Workers on H-1B visas are often tied to their sponsoring employers while waiting for green cards. This makes them vulnerable, unable to easily switch jobs or negotiate higher salaries, and now facing additional financial barriers. A H-1B worker on the condition of anonymity stated, and I quote, "I came to the US to build my career, but with these new fees, my dream feels further away. I don't know how I could even afford this." How are Indian IT companies shaping the H-1B visa landscape? And what challenges do they face under the new $100,000 fee? Indian IT companies have long been major players in the H-1B ecosystem. They sponsor tens of thousands of visas each year, placing workers in client sites across the US. The new $100,000 fee threatens to make these sponsorships economically unviable. Analysts say it could effectively shut out all but the wealthiest firms. IT analyst in India said, for many companies, paying $100,000 per visa is simply not sustainable. The economics don't work for mid-sized and smaller firms. So what controversies and criticisms surround the H-1B program, and why is it drawing renewed debate today? The H-1B program has always been controversial, and this policy changes has reignited old debates. Critics argue that H-1B program has been used to suppress wages and replace American workers. Others point out to potential discrimination against older or more experienced US employees. The new fee, however, could create a different kind of distortion, pricing out younger, less experienced immigrants, potentially reducing diversity and limiting innovation. Here are some personal stories for you surrounding the topic. Consider Priya, a software engineer in her late 20s. She graduated from US University with a master's degree, secured an H-1B visa last year, and began working for a mid-sized tech company. And Priya said, "I love my work, but I never imagined the visa itself would cost more than my entire first year salary. It's discouraging for anyone just starting out." Or take Rajesh, who moved from Bangalore to Seattle 3 years ago. His employer had been sponsoring his visa each year. Now, with a $100,000 fee looming, he worries about job stability and future of his family's American dream. So what could be the long-term impact of the H-1B fee on the US workforce and innovation? Economist warns the policy could affect the US workforce more broadly. A reduction in H-1B program could drive up wages for American employees in certain fields, but it could also slow innovations, reduce global competitiveness, and limit the US's ability to lead in emerging technologies. A tech policy analyst said, and I quote, "The US benefits immensely from this talent. Cutting off access does not protect workers, it risks ceding our technological edge to other countries." Now let's talk about what would be the international implication. India, the largest beneficiary of H-1B visas, is watching closely. The new fee could prompt Indian firms to invest more domestically or shift operation to other countries like Canada. The ripple effect extends to families, universities, and communities who rely on H-1B workers. From STEM research labs to hospitals, the consequences may be felt for years. Now, how are US lawmakers reacting to the new H-1B visa fee? And what does it reveal about the political divide? In Washington, the policy has divided lawmakers along partisan lines. The Republican lawmakers said this fee ensures that American companies prioritize American workers. It's about fairness and protecting US jobs. Democrats, on the other hand, counter that the policy could backfire, restricting access to high-skilled labor, reducing innovation, and raising costs for US consumers. Saying, and I quote, "We should be attracting talent, not erecting barriers. The policy will hurt American competitiveness in the long run." So this divide is not just partisan, it reflects competing visions of how America should balance labor protection with global competitiveness. Now, what legal challenges could arise against the $100,000 H-1B visa fee, and how might they affect its implementation? Legal experts predict that the new fee may face multiple challenges in court. Industry groups like the US Chamber of Commerce and NASSCOM in India are expected to argue that the fee is punitive, arbitrary, and violates the intent of the H-1B program. An immigration lawyer remarked, "There is a strong case that this fee exceeds statutory authority and could be struck down in federal court. Companies are preparing to file lawsuits immediately." The legal battle could delay implementation and create uncertainty for companies and workers alike. Now, let's come to what are the potential economic consequences of the new H-1B visa fee for US companies and the tech industry. Beyond politics and law, the economic impact is substantial. Analysts warn that US companies could face a talent crunch. High fees may push firms to hire locally at higher wages or relocate projects abroad. An economist said, and I quote, "Cutting off global talent could slow the pace of innovation and increase cost for US businesses and consumers. Startups and mid-sized firms, which cannot absorb $100,000 per visa, may face disproportionate challenges, potentially stifling entrepreneurship." Let's talk about how is India responding to the new H-1B visa fee and what could it mean for US-India relations. So the Indian government has expressed concern about the impact on the citizen and companies, and Indian officials said, "We urge the United States to consider the humanitarian and economic consequences of this policy. Skilled mobility benefits both nations." Indian Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar recently met US Secretary of State Marco Rubio to discuss trade tariffs and H-1B issues. The visa fee could further complicate trade relations, particularly as India pushes for protective measures for its agricultural and tech sectors. Now, what does the new H-1B fee mean for the global flow of skilled talent? And could other countries benefit? The effects are not limited to India and the US. Countries like Canada, Australia, and Germany could benefit as skilled workers seek alternatives to the US. A global talent analyst says, and I quote, "America risked losing its edge in technology. Global talent is mobile. If the US becomes prohibitive, other nations will capitalize. This could reshape the global tech landscape and with long-term consequences for innovation, competitiveness, and economic growth." Now, let's come to the question, how will the new H-1B visa fee affect the lives of individual workers and their families both in the US and abroad? For young professionals already in the United States, the fee adds financial stress and uncertainty. For families back in India, the implications are profound, affecting household finances, career plans, and the aspirations of generations seeking opportunity abroad. Let's talk about now the broader political context. This policy change also fits into a broader political narrative. Trump's administration has consistently focused on tightening immigration, from border security to work visas. Supporters see the $100,000 H-1B fee as continuation of that approach, putting America first and limiting foreign companies' competition in high-skilled sectors. Political analyst said, and I quote, "It's potentially calculated move. It appeals to voters concerned about jobs, wages, and immigration control." But opponents argue that it undermines US leadership in technology and global markets. So let's come to what's next for the H-1B program and how might the $100,000 fee shape the future of skilled immigration and the US tech sector. So the fee only it will apply to the new H-1B applicants, not current visa holders, but the uncertainty may delay applications, slow hirings, and disrupt the tech sector. Some companies may look to shift operation abroad. Others may increase wages for American workers. Either way, the US faces a major decision point in balancing labor protection with global competitiveness. The H-1B visa program has long been a pillar of American innovation. With the new fee, we are entering uncharted territory, one that could reshape global tech, US-India relations, and the lives of thousands of skilled workers. From Washington to Bangalore, from classrooms to boardrooms, the ripple effects of this policy are just beginning. We'll continue following this story from the courts to the Capitol Hill to the engineers and families directly affected. This is Shubham reporting for the News Point. Until next time.